Philippines is rich with myths and folklores, from enchanted fairies to lost civilization hidden in the forest. Though the population consists majorly of Roman Catholic and Islam, Filipinos still carry the belief of their pagan ancestors. With these beliefs, you cannot deny how influential they are in the Filipino films, most especially in horror films. If you have seen horror films, they always present the villains as the evil entity from our old stories, such as the White Lady, Tikbalang, Tiyanak, Manananggal, and of course the overused Aswang. The Shake, Rattle, and Roll franchise took this as an advantage to scare off viewers. The movie always contained 3 different stories for just one film, similar to Tales from the Crypt. The series was embraced so much by viewers and critics that other filmmakers followed the same component from the movie. Movies such as Magandang Hating Gabi and Cinco, to name a few. The 90s was at their peak and kinda slowly died down to the late 2000s. Well, it kinda gets boring though with the same ingredients, but each story is unique and sometimes chilling, while others are just But one story in particular that traumatized a lot of kids in the 90s was this one. Yeah, so let's talk about it. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night if you're about to sleep. Hi, my name is Phil, and welcome to a special segment of Freaky Filipino Friday with Phil. Rawr. And a happy Halloween. If you're asking what am I wearing, I don't know either. I just found this and this one, so, well, trick or treat, meow. Now, welcome to my segment where I talk about urban legends, films, and weird stuffs happening in the Philippines. Growing up in the Philippines, I watched a lot of horror films, like tons, because I was surrounded with a lot of superstitions and myths. And I grew up to love them, like really love them, and became very interested. So today we're gonna talk a particular story in Shake, Rattle, and Roll 3 that everyone in the 90s, including me, yes, I'm old, were traumatized. Now, why was this scary? I mean, there were tons of scary shit in the 90s. Well, yeah, but this is how they managed to scare you in this particular movie. The story starts out with a school field trip in the lake, where students are collecting some specimens from their project. And here we have Maloy as our main protagonist, a very generic one to be honest. Nerdy shy type of girl who gets picked on by her classmates, girls in her dormitory, and also the landlady. The problem starts when Maloy's friend collected a sample that looked like gigantic frog eggs. Maloy, as a generic antagonist, says that they should be careful on the things nature gives. Here you can see the totality of her character.
Ano naman ngayon kung buhay ang mga yan? Kung buhay, dapat igalang at pangalagaan. Sobra ka naman. Dapat matuto tayong mahalin ang buhay ng lahat ng klase ng hayop at halaman na nakatira dito sa planeta natin. At hindi, ano pang matitira sa mga anak at apo natin?
Well, it's funny what she's saying and ends up keeping the eggs. The tone of the movie suddenly shifts when a loud screeching sound occurred. And a few minutes later, her friend died from drowning and was covered with mysterious slime.
Bakit siya maganito? Ano to?
I mean, man, I wouldn't touch that if I were you. And also, what the F? Why the heck are you all just standing there? No one is doing CPR or taking her right away to the ER. They're just standing there. Well, it's the 90s, so I'll forgive them. Soon a mysterious creature hid in the water container and was carried by Malloy, bringing also the creature all the way to her home. There you can see how Malloy is treated badly by her dormmates and also the landlady. Soon after, the landlady warns Malloy about the dangers of the lake where she has been. From that, everything just started to go downhill.
Lamang lupa. Parang dormitoryo ng mga halimaw. May mga masasamang espiritu at mayroong totoong halimaw. Mga undin.
The story itself is pretty simple and straightforward, just not to mess with nature, that's all. Well, the thing that made it scary is how they portray the monster and how it kills its victims. I cannot express enough how I was scared of this creature's design. It was horrendously hideous, green, slimy with webbed hands and feet. What makes it look scary is that it looks almost human but not quite there. It has some hair on its head and has a very vicious look on its eyes. Basically, it's a human frog. It kinda looks like a kappa, which is a yokai demon in Japanese folklore. Yeah, at some point in my life, I had a phobia of frogs and toads. Well, that pretty much explains everything. And yeah, I'm gonna be editing this video, so good luck to me. Another factor that made this scary is how the creature acts and how it behaves. At some point, it can be very peaceful, calm, and at times shy, but on the other side, it can be very violent. Really violent. Just the thought of something jumping towards you is already freaky. What caused everyone's phobia was this part. The toilet scene.
Diyos ko! Hoy, Maloy! Sabihin mo ang katotohanan, ha? Minsan ko lang itong tatanungin sa'yo! Nakikinig ka ba, Maloy? Maloy? Nagda-drugs ka ba?
Now, why was this scary? Let's have a look on some other Asian horror movies. J-horror boomed in the early 2000s for the reason that it was unconventional from the rest of the horror films that time. It manages to scare you off without jump scares and flashy gore. Instead, it torments you and questions if you're really safe. Ju-on or The Grudge takes this even further. The ghost appears in a very familiar place but in an unusual way. It attacks you in your comfort zone or the most vulnerable state in where you are. This was the same tool to scare in this particular movie. Invasion of your most vulnerable time. I mean, really, your vulnerable time, your most sacred time, actually. Furthermore, the creature kills its victims with a grotesque manner. It vomits this greenish puke that dissolves you completely. The practical effects of this movie was very realistic and disturbing at the same time that they had to censor it years later when they broadcast it on TV. I mean, that's pretty late, so you traumatized most of us in the 90s, so... The movie ends Malloy returning the last egg from the Udin and bringing them both back to the lake, where the Udin reunites with its partner. This part of the movie pays homage to the superstitious beliefs of Filipinos and how this belief pays respect to the natural environment. This portion of the movie was not perfect though, it has problems actually. For example, the characters were so one-dimensional. You don't have a lot of character building and no backstories of the characters, at least the backstory. Even the main character, you don't get a lot from her. You don't even get to see the character build up or what she've learned already because she already knows that you have to respect the nature. There were some scenes that I deem not so necessary. For example, Malloy was singing in the bathroom and was just kind of like a comical relief, I think.
He coming home, wait
Well, it doesn't add up to the storyline, to be honest. It wasn't perfect, but, you know, a lot of Filipinos still remember that phase, like, ugh, no. It was still enjoyable though. It gives a sense of nostalgia. Well, not nostalgia, maybe trauma, I think. Yeah, that's the right word. So that was it for today, guys. So what do you think? Was the movie scary or just like, just corny? Write your thoughts down in the comment box below. And have a fine weekend and happy Halloween again.